Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to show part 2 to mastering arpeggios on bass. So let's get started. Yesterday I went over an exercise on going through the circle of fourths with the major 7th arpeggios. Now today I'm going to show you the second part of the exercise. So, as I was saying previously, you got to get the exercise going straight up and down first of all, starting on C, C major 7, F major 7, B flat major 7, E flat major 7, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G flat major 7, B major 7, E major 7, A major 7, well, my bad, A major 7, D major 7, then G major 7, and it starts back over on C. So that's the first part. You gotta have that down, which, as I said, that could take people, it depends on how much you practice, how much time you got. It could take a while to get just that down. But the next part is what you're going to do. You're going to start on the lowest note of the arpeggios, and you're going to go up 4 notes, and you're going to play the nearest note of the next arpeggio. So if you're going up, I want to start on the lowest note of C, which is your E. I want to play 4 notes of C and go into F. So E, G, B, C. Now I'm going into F. The nearest note is E. So you go play 4 notes of the F. So here it is, E, G, B, C. Then you go to E, F, A, C. You go up as high as you can within the 5 fret range. Once you reach the highest, you go back down. So that was F. Now I'm going back down into B flat. So the nearest note is B flat. So you got B flat, A, then you got F, and then D. Now your next chord is E flat. And since you're going down, you're going to go to the nearest note. You're going to stay in the direction going down until you run out of room, run out of notes. So going into E flat, you got B flat, G, then you got to go back up. So you got B flat, then D. Now your next chord is A flat. The nearest note is E. E, G, and you got A flat, C. Now you're on the D flat. That was 4 notes. So the nearest note is A flat. Then you got F, D flat, C. Now you're into G flat. The nearest note is B flat. Then you got G flat, F, and then G flat. Then now you're into B. You got A, B, D sharp, F sharp. Now you're into E. Nearest note is G sharp, B, then G sharp again, and then down to E. Now you're on A. You got C sharp, A, G sharp, E, then now you're on to D, so that's F sharp, A, C sharp, D. Now you're into G, so you got F sharp, G, B, back down to G. Now you're back around to C again, and when you come back around, this is why you do 4 notes. You're going to have a different order of how you just played it, and it's going to mix it up, and it becomes a repeating pattern. But you can mix it up several ways just by starting differently, where you start and where you end. So now that we're back to C, the nearest note, and I'll go through this again a few times slowly, so hopefully y'all can catch on. I know there's a lot of information, but trust me, this exercise, if you want to be able to improvise, you gotta know this stuff. Because, like, for instance, when I'm playing a solo, I know where I'm at all the time. I know, for instance, my song Elise is like F sharp Dorian, and I know that F sharp Dorian inside and out. All the notes. I don't even think of scales. I think of notes. When I play, I don't think about different scales. I just know all the notes on the neck. That's why I can jump around like I do. It's not patterns. It's because I know the notes. I'm thinking of the chords I'm in. If I'm thinking at all, it becomes second nature. But anyways, this is what you got to do to get it done. This exercise here, and it's going to seem really hard at first, but as you keep going, you're going to be like, oh, I'm already through. I've already made it around one time, because it starts picking up. It gets easier and easier, and it's never like completely easy, I guess. I mean, it becomes kind of patterns, but for me, I like to know the notes. It's always been that way. But anyways, I'll go through it again. I ended on G, so I'm going to go into C, back around to C major 7, which is closest note is E. Then you got C, B, G. Now we're into F major 7, so you got F, A, C, E. Now you're into B flat. You continue going in the direction you're going, which is up. So you got F, you got A, you got B flat, and then you got to go back down to hit the D, because you're staying within the 5 frets. Now we're into E flat. So you got your E flat here, you're going to keep going down. E flat, D, B flat, G. Now we're into A flat. Nearest note is A flat. No, I'm sorry, E. Look, you got your open E. So you go E, G, A flat, and then now you're into D flat. Closest note is C. C, D flat, F, A flat. Now you're into G flat. So your closest note is to B flat, G flat, F, D flat. Now we're into B major 7. So closest note is B. Then you got A. You got F sharp, and then back to A. Now we're into E. You got B, D sharp, E, G sharp. And now you're into A major 7. Closest note going up, still going up. You got A. Now you go back down. G, E, C sharp. And now you're into D major 7. So you got A, F sharp, A, C sharp. You won't even touch the D on that one because it doesn't line up. You play the 4 notes. So that's going to happen all the time, and that's why you got to know these notes. And that's still, even though you don't touch that D, it's still a D major 7 because you got the F sharp, A, and the C sharp. But it all is still notes to the D. We won't go into that yet. So that's D. Now you're into G, the final chord. So you're going up. You got D, F sharp, G, B. Now you're back around to the C again. See, so that was already a cycle, and you just keep on doing this over and over. And you probably be slow at it. It doesn't matter. You mess up, and you start back over. Just keep on doing it, and in time you master these 5 frets with a major 7. This is just a major 7 still. You still got the minors, you got the dominants, but you got to start somewhere. You got to, you don't worry about the majors and the dominants or the minors and the dominants until you get the majors down. So back to C. You're going to start here. C, B, G, E. Now you're into B flat again. You got D, B flat, A, B flat. Now you're into E flat. So you got D, E flat, G, B flat. Now you're into A flat. You still going up. So you got C, and then back down now. A flat, G, E flat. Now we're into D flat. So you got D flat, C, A flat, F. Now you're into G flat. So you got G flat, B flat, D flat, F. Now you're into B. So you got A sharp, B, then A sharp, then D sharp, then B. Now you're into E. So you got G sharp, E, G sharp, B. Now you're into A. You got C sharp, E, G sharp, A. Now you're into D. You got F sharp, D, C sharp, A. Now you're on to G, the final one. You got G, B, D, F sharp. Start back over. You're still going up. So you're going to go up into C. So you got G, B, C, B. Now you're into F. You got A, F, E, C. Now you're into B flat. You got B flat, A, F, A. Then you got E flat. So you got B flat, D, E flat, G. Now you're into A flat. You got A flat, C, A flat, G. Now you're into D flat. You got F, D flat, C, A flat. Now you're into G flat. You got G flat, B flat, D flat, F. Now you're into B. You got A sharp, B, then A sharp again, F sharp. Into E. You got E, D sharp, B, G sharp. Now you're into A. You got you got E, G sharp, A, C sharp. Now you're still going up. D, F sharp, A, then back down. C sharp. Now you're into G. You got B, G, F sharp, G. And it starts back over on C again. This time you're going to start right here on the B. And it just continues on, and you just keep on doing that. It's called the continuous arpeggio exercise, which that's is a tough, there's nothing easy about it. But if you want to get good, that's the kind of stuff you got to get down. There's no other way. There's other ways, but in some form or another, you got to get these notes down. And, you may not understand the theory behind it. You just get it done. Just know how to make that major 7. You just keep learning, and then you fill in the gaps as you go. That's what I always say, fill in the gaps. People would tell me to learn scales, and I learned scales and chords, and I had no idea what I was doing with them. But I learned them anyways, because in time, once you play enough, it starts making sense. You'll start seeing these patterns in the songs that you learn. If you're doing whatever songs, eventually once you learn enough, you see it in every song you play. You see the music theory that's inside everything. Like, I had a friend always trying to tell me, like, this guy and this guy plays this stuff that there's no theory behind it. I'm like, yeah, there definitely is, and I can show it to you right now. Everything has it. There's reasons. There's no way around learning it if you want to be good. And so, like I said, to get that down, it's tough. And you write the notes down, download the circle of fifths, so you can look at it as you go around. I know it in my head, but that took me a while, and that came from writing it down too. You just write stuff down because it stays in your mind. It's like if you use tab all the time, I guarantee, like I do, when you're playing a song and you've learned it off a tab, you're picturing the tab in your mind. That's what you're seeing. And you can picture the notes in your mind the same way by looking at the bass and not worrying about tab, And you're going to use a circle of fifths so you know which note you're on. Write the notes down of the chords if you're struggling with certain ones. Like, you can just put the first 2 together, which is C and F major, so C major 7, F major 7. You can play between them. That's your C, and then you go up to the F, back into the C, into the F, back to C, into F. So you can do it with just 2 of them, and then you add the third one in, like the B flat. So now we're on the F, F, A, C, A. Now we're on the B flat, F, D, B flat, A. Then you can go back to C, G, C, E, G. Now you're into F, A, C, A, F. Now you're into B flat, D, B flat, A, F, back to C. So you can just do this with 3 chords. And then you add in, and you just keep on adding the chords in until you can do the cycle. So that's one of the most important lessons you can get some patterns down. And what this is ultimately is walking bass lines. When you learn how to walk, this is what you got to know. You got to be able to look at arpeggios in any direction like that. So that's another thing. It helps you get the notes down. You get your major 7s down. You get the notes in the first 5 frets here. Then you can play them in any order, up and down. It's teaching you how to walk, And I thought there was one more point. Well, that's about, I mean, all kinds of benefits is my point. But you just take it slow, take it as slow as you got to take it, and just to get it down. Like I said, if I was when I was 15, I wish somebody would have showed me this because, and I know, like I was saying yesterday, people, I was lazy, and you get and to where you want to learn how to play theory, and you get into it for a week, and then you quit, and then you play, and you go back to playing your cover songs and stuff that you know when you practice, which is fine. But there will come a day when you want to get into the theory if you stick around playing long enough. And if you start doing this exercise, even if you do it now and then you quit, and then 6 months from now you pick back, you decide, oh, I want to work on some theory today. Go back to that exercise and just continue to do that, and eventually, if you get into good habits of practicing, 'cause I know how life is, and you don't always have time. Some people don't have the time to play every day, or practice every day, or they want to, but just play casually. But generally, most people I know, at some point, when they play long enough, they decide that they want to know the theory too, and then they want to be asking, where do you begin? Well, this is where you begin, getting the notes down. You don't. Before I ever even knew theory, I knew the notes on the bass. I did. I knew I could play triads. I knew triads well. I didn't know much other than triads. I got by on these major patterns and the minor patterns for years, jamming with people, improvising, and I would expand off of them. So I had a basic understanding, but I had gaps again, and had gaps in my knowledge. So just keep coming back. Learn, get it in this area first, 5 frets. Don't even worry about the rest of the neck. You master this part because it becomes repeating, and then it's different patterns, but you get this part down, it makes the next part easy. So on. And I'll do a lesson on the next section as well. But if you get this section down, then you're pretty much going to understand how the next part works, because it's a lot of information to get down just this part, the first 5 frets. But if you stick to it, it will make your playing so much better. I mean, it's excellent exercise. And then I'll also go over the minors and the dominants in another video. It's the same idea. And then you start chaining them together. And that's where I was talking about walking lines. When you start chaining your major 7s and your minor 7s and your dominants together within the 5 fret area, then it starts, you start hearing how it's a walking bass line, But you got to start from the beginning. This is the beginning. Just getting these arpeggios down. And if you're struggling learning the notes on the neck, you can do little exercises like, well, first of all, you have to know your open strings so you can find the rest of the notes, but you just learn them within the 5 fret range also, like while you're learning your arpeggios. And like I said, if it's really extremely difficult, find a way to simplify it and make it easy. If you have to learn one single note at a time, learn one single note at a time. G, B, C, just to be able to play up these arpeggios. I mean, that's the way nobody can teach you that or make you understand where the notes are. It has to be you. You have to see it. You got to sit down and do the struggle. It's a struggle, but it gets easier. There's no secret magical formula that's going to make you suddenly be able to understand where the notes are. I see people using stickers, and I've always thought that's the dumbest thing, because when you're looking at the stickers, what's the damn difference than learning the note name? There is no difference. I mean, I guess there might be some value in that. It just never made sense to me. Just learn the notes. It all, like I said about being lazy, I was lazy. I would get into practicing for a while and then just fall out of it. I wouldn't say I was lazy, I still played, but it felt like a job, I guess. But eventually, once I started getting into the theory, and I started loving it, I still do. Like once you start understanding it, and you start seeing how it's making you better, and the different sounds, like people will say it kills your creativity. I hear that one. That's another lazy lie. That's people will say that. Well, it kills my creativity. No, you're just too damn lazy to learn your notes. Because I tried to use that excuse too, and that's ultimately what it was being lazy. Because once you start learning that stuff, and there's certain sounds that you're not going to hear, you're not going to discover by accident. You could, but once you know what you're doing and you write a song, say you're just writing some chords out, you can be like, oh, I'm playing A minor to D7. I could put a G major 7 because you know the theory behind it. I could put a G7 there, or I could put a or a C major, whatever you want to put in there. You just know the theory, and it gives you ideas or alterations if you want to put a six chord or whatever. You got to know. This is where you begin, though, is getting the arpeggios down. 'Cause if you don't understand them, then nothing else is going to make sense. Because all music, the hardest piece of music can be broken down to triads, at its basic element. Even a scale. If you take a scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, skipping every other note's a chord. Or if you if you just keep going all the way up as high as you can go, skipping notes, you play the whole scale. And ultimately that's a C13. And basically a C13 is the entire C major scale played every other note. That's what it boils down to. So, and you're rarely gonna play scales up and down. You're gonna play little passages, pieces of them, yeah. But the arpeggios, you gotta understand the arpeggios. And this is where you begin. You get to get these 5 frets down, and then you move on to the next. But like I said, once you get these 5 frets down, these 5 frets are easier. You start seeing the patterns within, and you'll catch on. It might take you 50 to 100 times, but going around that circle, but you start seeing the patterns, and then you can kind of use patterns once you see the patterns, get by on that even. But it's important, one of the most important exercises you can do. Like I said, whatever you got to do to get it down. Write the notes down, break it down to 1 chord at a time, then add the second chord in. Just set a goal to get through that circle. There's no time limit. If you set time limits, all you do is set yourself up for failure, because you're going to feel guilty for not reaching your goal, and then you're just going to not play at all. That's what's going to happen. You start feeling guilty about it. You start taking weeks off of playing so you don't feel guilty. And then when you finally pick back up, you don't have to think about the guilt that you felt from skipping all those other days. I've already been there. So if you just do the work, you're going to find out that it's not always hard. It's only hard in the beginning. And then once you start getting a feel for it, you'll start learning stuff in a day, in an hour, whatever. Becomes really fast. But the beginning's tough, and this is the beginning, and this is tough. So hopefully, I just hope that I can help, one person. If I help one person, that's fine by me. I'm not looking to I know my videos ain't gonna get 100,000 views on YouTube. You know, I'm just trying to help the people that care, like I care. And if you care, and if you really want to get good, then learn this exercise. It will. And then once you get that down, all the other stuff, once you suffer through the first one, all the other ones will be easier. Maybe not easy. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy because it's not going to be easy. But it will make you 100 times better. So that is my lesson for the day. I appreciate all the support from all the people. Get these patterns down, get these notes down. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.